my Townsville studio that kind of, now that I look at it, kind of looks like a padded cell. But hey, what's the saying? If it barks like a dog, whatever. Okay, now today's episode, I also changed my mind at the last minute. So this is going to be epic. And I'm excited. I'm excited to bring you a guest who, after speaking with Megan yesterday, so we talked about, dating and, how to meet people and, her services and what she offers. Okay. But now we are talking to a beautiful lady named Nikki. Okay. And I'm so excited because she is going to take this up a notch when talking about dating because she works with some high profile people doing pretty cool stuff. And she's going to tell us all about all things dating. So, not just dating, you know what? We're going to talk about loving ourselves and everything in between. Now, after that, okay, so I told you yesterday I had by the way, if anyone else was affected by the Telstra outage yesterday, I, like when I tell you I couldn't have been more inconvenienced, okay, I literally drove my ass around Queensland because I left the Gold Coast, entered Brisbane. I had no map. I didn't know where the hell I was going. And I was purely going on vibes. So when I say the universe had my back yesterday, the universe had my back yesterday because I was like freaking out because I was like I don't know where I'm going. My maps aren't working, and it was a lot. And I had a flight to catch, and it was a whole thing. I was not enjoying myself. Anyways, we made it here. I made it to the plane. So irrelevant, but it just goes to show how much we rely on our tech and we rely on things to actually work. So Telstra, I've been a long time customer. Okay, this would be a first time caller because this was unbelievably inconvenient. Okay, cool. Anyway, so we're going to talk to Nikki this morning first. And then after that, okay, so I told you about this masterclass that I was creating, and I really wanted to make it really potent and powerful and kind of just like all the juicy stuff so that I've done the hard work for you. Okay, you don't have to go and source any information. To be perfectly honest with the way that I've condensed this, you don't even have to read the books like cover to cover. Have a bit of a skim, get a bit of a gist. Like I'm sure there's like a TLDR version of these books somewhere. And the reason that I want to talk about the energetics of money today is because tomorrow I'm going to play you Yua's interview about financial planning, wealth for women, all of the things, because I want you to go into that with like a really clear understanding of where your money leaks are. And once you do, what I'm giving you to do, or once we talk through what I'm going to talk you through, you're going to have a really good understanding of all of that. Okay. So it's going to be a really good way to view your foundations and all of the things about money before we kind of go ahead and give you the practical tips, because we can give you all the practical tips in the world. Okay. But if your mind isn't on it and you have a bit of a fear, or you have any money leaks, okay, you can do all the financial planning in the world, you can do all the financial work in the world, and you will end up exactly where you are, okay, because you don't have the foundation or the, I guess, understanding of what your unconscious is talking about when it comes to money, which is actually the most important part. So we can do all the physical things, but if the mind stuff isn't there, as we know, it doesn't always work the same way, and it doesn't always happen for us. So we just really need to make sure that we are, always loving our money. Okay. Got our mind on our money on our mind, and all of the things in between, because it is absolutely crucial, critical, all the things that we absolutely nail this every single time. Okay. As I said, you can literally do all of the physical stuff you want. Okay. It absolutely at all. All that needs to happen is making sure that you've got the mental stuff, which is something that they don't teach in school. It's something that it's only really recently, when it's all of these online coaches have taken over the world, that it's come up and been a whole thing. So yeah, I'm excited to dive deeper into this topic with you guys because it's exciting. Okay, so while we wait for Nikki, let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing in this second half of the show. So now, when I say millions with Megs, okay, I'm not even joking. This is my goal for all of us. Okay, we're going to do this together. Okay, now before we get all into that, my beautiful guest has jumped in the studio. So my goodness. Okay, so when I tell you this, her job title, what she does, you are going to be absolutely floored. And I am unbelievably excited to have her on the show this morning. So let me tell you a little bit about this woman. Okay, so Nikki is a psychotherapist and relationship architect. She works globally with clients one to one. She's the founder of Elevation Intensive, a national program bringing her work on relationships into workplaces, and host of The View from Here. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it is so good to see you here. I'm so excited, and purely because I understand that the clients that you help, dating can be a little bit different from, the, and I don't want to say normal because there's no such thing, but like, the typical types of dating. So I'm excited to get into that. So I would love for you to tell us, outside of my little spiel about you, all about The View from Here, and the work that you do and the people that you help.
For sure. So I guess a little bit of it started from my own experience. I was a physical therapist for over 2 decades. And what I started to see from that was this common denominator of people who were high achievers and excelling in their field of expertise, but really struggling emotionally, struggling to feel connected. And I realized that I was attracting like minded people because I was kind of the same. And so it kind of led me to do a lot more research and gain deeper understanding into how people end up that way and how can we break that cycle. And I guess that led me to my one-on-one work and designing a whole program to help people to minimize that in their life, but also stop self-sabotaging their relationships with their partners, with their kids, with their employees, because relationships and connection are so important in humans. And yeah, that led me to develop a 3-month program and then implement it into workplaces. And then The View from Here started because I've always been super curious about people and conversations. And when you sit at a cafe talking to somebody and there's those questions you just want to ask, but are socially inappropriate to ask a complete stranger. So I guess The View from Here was developed from that curiosity. And I was like, how can I create a space where I'm licensed to have those conversations with really, really interesting people, but in a more appropriate way? So The View from Here was developed.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny you say that because that is literally the whole thing that appealed me to having my own show, because I was like, well, like I have a reason to ask you to come and have a chat with me, because otherwise it's just this random blonde chick being like, hey, I want to ask you some questions. I'm really interested in what you do. Can we have chats? So I feel you.
I love that. I love that.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing, and it is pure curiosity. Like, I'm not doing because I mean, like, I guess I am nosy. I think inherently as humans we are a little bit nosy, but it's just curiosity because if you don't, like, you see these people the other side of the screen and doing the work that I do, I work really closely with race car drivers and really high sporting personalities, and I am just like fascinated. Well, do you know what? Let me rephrase that. I was so fascinated by their behind the scenes life. So when I started in this industry last year, I was looking at them and I was like, favorite driver, and it was like a whole thing. But then as I got to know them, meet them, like be behind the veil of actually what it was just so different. And so it was really fun to kind of like humanize my heroes, if you will. And now, one of the biggest names in sporting, well, motorsport in particular, will literally like throw things at me and scare me at every chance he gets. And it just, I can pinch myself because I'm like, how, like, this is cool. I've developed, because, okay, what do you talk about with high profile people? Like, and again, we put them on a pedestal. I understand that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But what do I possibly have to contribute to a conversation with somebody like that? So that's something I really had to get over, because I was like, I mean, I've got interesting things to say and they don't want to talk about themselves all the time. So
Yeah.
it was a whole thing. Anyway, okay, back to you.
Oh, I love it.
Okay,
I can relate.
that's good, right? I love what you say is how the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of everything else built on your relationship. So I would love for you to talk through that, because I think that is like one of the most unspoken things in
Sure.
anything when it comes to like growing your profile and working alongside with these other like high profile people.
Yeah, 100%. So it's really interesting when people say relationship with self, they dismiss it. And that when I have people most commonly come to me, it's because there's been a threat amongst them. So either their health has suffered, their partner's threatening to leave them, their workplace is falling apart at the seams. But ironically, it comes back to the relationship with self because it's the one we, I guess, dismiss the most because we don't understand its importance. But when you think about it, on a plane, I always use this analogy. Who do they tell to put the mask on first?
Yeah.
Ourselves.
Yeah. Watch yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you sort of reverse engineer that into life, we should be prioritizing ourselves. But in society, we're often told to prioritize everything external because prioritizing ourselves is selfish. But I run with the philosophy you need to be selfish to be selfless. Because again, that analogy of the plane. So when we look at how we function as humans, when our foundation of self, we understand who that is from a deeper level, we can create the safety from within. When we can create and realize that the happiness and fulfillment and that peace that we all search for, all of those factors are actually from within us. We stop constantly striving to get them externally because we understand the key elements are already there. So when you shift that, then everything else in your life starts to amplify. And that is the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because having flown in the plane yesterday, and that's one of my favorite things now, obviously being like working with men a lot now, is like I'm the girliest like tomboy in the world. So that is my whole thing. I'm like, no, I cannot give to you until I have given to myself. What did they tell you on the plane? Like, so I literally used that conversation yesterday when I was like, it's the safety demonstration video theory. I have to put my mask on first before assisting you. And it's so funny because I just come up with these random analogies. And I think it is like a self-love bunch of analogies because the other one I randomly come up with yesterday was the drunk girl bathroom conversation. Because if you're drunk in the bathroom with a girl, there is no bigger hype queen for you in the whole world. Like your outfit is unbelievable, your accessories, where did you get your bag from? And you walk out of that bathroom like a freaking rock star. You're like, oh, I'm stunning today.
So true. It's so true.
I'm going to come up with like the laws of life according to Megs or something. I don't know. But
I
no,
love it. Do love an analogy.
I don't know. Well, it's just the way, I think it's the way that my brain actually works because I'm like, don't tell me just some like fluffy, like really complicated stuff. Like talk to me in real people speak because that's how I absorb information.
Yep, me too.
Love it. So, talk to me about the VB audit. I read this before and I was like, oh my God, I think everybody and then everybody else needs to actually implement this into this life, like into their lives, because yeah, it's so powerful.
It's funny because it's so simple, but it came from me constantly using those three things. So values, priorities, and boundaries. And it came into every single session I would work on with a client or in a group. And I was like, right, what is it about those things? And I realized that, again, when you disconnect from self and don't have that relationship, again, you don't understand or have clarity around your own values, your own boundaries, and your own priorities. And so you get blurred, and that's when chaos, drama, and confusion starts to creep in. So the audit was founded because when, for example, let's give this as when you've got a list of your own values, you've got a list of your own boundaries and your priorities in your current state, because they're forever changing, you can apply that to every single situation. So say somebody invites you out for dinner tonight and you're really in scaling phase of your business. Right. Does it align with my current boundaries? Does it align with my current values? And does it align with those three areas? And when you start to check in with those three things, the answer becomes really clear. While I would love to go to that dinner, it doesn't align with those areas of my life right now. So the answer is no. And you're able to let go of that rather than hold this guilt and start to ruminate on it and start to cycle into it and spend so much of your energy on that one decision rather than spending it where it needs it, which is what you're working on. And it stops taking that emotional toll and building up, because obviously if you hold on to that decision and then another decision and another, you start carrying all this burden and all this guilt with you every single day that just impacts your clarity, impacts your ability to make clearer decisions, and anchors you and protects you and holds you back from where you're trying to build towards. So
Yeah,
it's
definitely. I think you probably would see this a lot with the people that you work with, is that their circles tend to get a bit smaller, because I've know in my life when I've had to make such decisions, and I've only really gotten good at that in probably like the last 5 years. Well, actually, do you know what? Not even. Like, I think I still have a lot of work to do on that now that I actually call myself out on it. But I have, because it's true, I carry that guilt, and I'm like, oh, like especially if I've moved and things, and so when I go back home, it's like I've got to spend all of my time with all of the people. But knowing what I'm like, I am such an extroverted introvert. Like, I can go be the life of the party, do all of the things, but then like I need like 72 business hours to just like bring my nervous system back to calm and kind of like recharge my batteries, hang out with my cats and do all of those things. So I guess the people that you work with would see their circles probably getting smaller, and not to see that as necessarily like a bad thing.
Correct. I think as you build that safety from within, it again comes back to that relationship with self. You start to realize that you don't need all of the external relationships to that same level that you once did, maybe in your younger years, where you're still evolving and working out who you are. So you have lots of different pockets of friends then, because that serves maybe the going out phase and the dinner phase and the exercise phase and the weekend phase, or whatever cup you need filled from different social circles and different conversations. Whereas as you get older, you realize that you're cool to go for walks on your own. You're cool to exercise on your own. You can go for coffee on your own, or you only need those one or two friends to do that with. So I think it comes back to time, being able to hone in on the things that are of value, apply to your boundaries, and are the priority. And there's going to be different seasons. Like, I see my parents now retired, and they've naturally migrated through that. When they were younger, they had a lot of friends in that middle section of life. They were focused on kids and careers. And now they're at the other end of life. Their friendship circle has grown exponentially, not out of fear or lack of understanding of who they are, but purely because they're aligning themselves with the people that bring joy and value to that period of their life. So you can really see it naturally migrate through that, yeah, as you age.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the more kind of work you do on yourself, and the more you understand yourself, it's the more, well, certainly from my experience anyway, I realized I didn't really resonate with a lot of people I was surrounding myself with. And, you know, is it like the total sum of the 5 people you spend your most time with? And
Yep.
when I learned that, I was like, "God, like, I need to do a little bit of work on this," because, yeah, obviously, it's those comfort people, maybe your childhood friends or people that you're kind of used to just doing the weekend stuff with. But I always say that starting a business is like personal development on crack, because you really have to make decisions, a version of yourself that maybe you're not quite at yet. But if you wanna get to, these that place in your life, then you have to start looking at people who maybe once triggered you, like, "Oh, look at what she's got," or like, "Look at all, like, she must be so boring and do all these things." But it's like, "Hey, you know what? That version of herself she'd had to become has got her the success that you're very jealous about." So, yeah, it's hard, isn't it, to go from, like, where you are right now to kind of who you wanna be, and that, like, void in the middle, I find is the worst part.
Absolutely. And I think friendships especially, well, all relationships,
Yeah.
but friendships really can mirror a lot of things back to you. A relationship you're choosing for different elements. So that kind of grows and evolves with you. And it's a different level of honesty and, I guess, wholeness, because it's all parts of your life emerged into that dynamic. Whereas a friendship, they're seeing still snapshots, not quite the highlight reel. They do see the other parts, but friends can also be really bluntly honest about things. And if you're not clear or feeling grounded in what you're doing or what you're working towards, it can really sway you. And I think when, especially you're in build phases in different stages of business, you double down on being a bit more insular because you need to connect with yourself, listen to that intuitive, that voice within you that is trying to put all those pieces of the puzzle together to build what you are. So I think, that's why minimizing that circle around you is also really important, because it becomes more noise. And yeah, it can really influence you, but not always a positive way.
Yes, definitely. Like those, "Oh, just come out for a night," like you're always working and you're always, doing all the things. Like, I think if I had a dollar for every time I heard that. But, I know myself, and purely because of my health, and I'm so excited to talk to you about the next part as well, is because if I go out and have like a night drinking, say, it's not just like, oh, I'm a bit hungover on a fun day. Like it actually physically and mentally affects me into the week. And at the stage of business I am at and at the stage of life I am at, I don't have that time to be like cloudy headed, to not feel myself, to not be myself and like put out the energy, I guess, into like even to the show, for example. Like imagine coming on here and somebody's like hungover and they're like, oh, hey, welcome. Like, what do you want? Like, ill. Like, I can't even portray it. Like, I can't even pretend it. So, but yeah, so I think the peer pressure element, like, doesn't really leave high school. We take that with us to the next levels of our life, and you see people stay or go. Now, the thing, I mean, I've been so excited to talk to you about all these things, but in particular, I want to talk about health with you because I think something that I really resonated with you mostly about is the different phases in life, like me, and you may relate to this too, in because I don't have children. And I had stage 4 endo. I had a hysterectomy like nearly 7 weeks ago now. So like my whole life, like, when are you going to settle down? And settle down to people means have kids and do all the things. And I'm like, bro, I have built 2 businesses. Like I get paid to travel around the country with race car drivers. I'm like, I don't, if that's not a good life, like what do you mean? So I want to talk to you about the burnouts that you felt, because I think women in our situation with yourself, going through early menopause and doing things differently to everybody else, we kind of get either judged or sort of typecasted into kind of like one sort of thing. And we forever do, I feel like, burn ourselves out trying to like either overcompensate for that or to like do all the things. So I want you to tell us all about that stuff because I think that's going to be really, really helpful.
Yeah, sure. So it's been a journey. I guess you don't sometimes realize the extent of it until you're kind of on that other side. But yeah, 3 burnouts by the time I was 35. And I joke about it because I'm like, well, was a high achiever, like to do things at any, fast rate I could. But I think it was, again, it's what my work was founded on, because the first one hit me really hard. And that's actually how I came to move north, because I was told I may never work again. And actually, the first one was probably, yeah. Look, I had micro ones, but that was the first big one. And I thought, yeah, this is good. I'll just go north. It'll all be better. I was only 23. I was so young. But what I didn't realize also at that same time, I was already in menopause and misdiagnosed. I, you know, was still being misdiagnosed for endometriosis at that point. And, health was really compromised, but I was working such big hours. I guess you could just blame that. And then you fast forwarded a few years and I'd started a business. It was going really well, but I was picking and choosing my hours. But, the hours crept up, and burnout number 2. It didn't flatten me as much as the first one, but it was just like a little bit of a reminder there's things not right. But again, I loved what I did. Like, I think that's the misconception, that I worked because I felt stressed about money, that I was running from something. No, my burnouts and my lack of connection with self was purely, I literally just loved what I did. I loved it so much, but there was a perfectionist element to it that I just wanted to excel and help as many people as I could. And so I could never say no. So it was my lack of boundary with that. And, my health was catching up with me. Obviously, by this point, I had been diagnosed with severe endometriosis and ademosis. Things were not mounting up, but they were still more concerned about me preserving my capacity to have kids. At this point, I was still single. And so I was like, well, how do I know in my mid-20s how that's going to look? But sure, I'm a planner, no problems. So look, I did freeze my eggs. I didn't get very many. I didn't have much to pick from. So, I froze what I could and was like, just chuck that on the back burner. Let's just focus on work again. And so I sort of doubled down. And at this point, I met my husband, and I guess I was really upfront. I knew there was a risk we couldn't have kids because obviously that point I had no eggs. The endo was really bad. Pain levels were astronomical. And I was sort of floundering a little bit, but work was going so well. So I guess I got that external high of everything else is really good. So we'll figure that stuff out. And I do remember my first year of uni in my undergrad. They said to us that as a physical therapist, you've got about a good 7 to 10 years of solid work. Make it count. because these careers are often really short. And I was like, who says that to an 18-year-old? I don't listen to them. So I'll be an anomaly to that. And I got a lot more than that out, but my body was starting to fail me because what we then found out was because I'd gone into menopause so early, my internal body was aging at a really fast rate. So even my muscle elasticity, my skin elasticity, all of those things think that they're older than they are because the hormones are sort of, they've run out as a 65, 70-year-old lady is experiencing. And so what resulted was basically I ended up with severe degeneration of my shoulders and hands. And I couldn't do my job, but it literally kind of hit me overnight. But ironically, the timing was I had been to a new specialist who had said, we need to do a full hysterectomy, everything. So it's called a radical, as you would well know. So ovaries, everything gone. It needs to go. I'm actually really concerned about what's happening in there. And in that same month, I had to shut down my businesses because my shoulders had given up. And it was in the middle of COVID. So I lost all my passive income. So it was like this perfect storm. Like I was such a planner. I'd had diversified my incomes, but literally everything stopped me. And that was really hard, as I'm sure you've just been through. Having organs removed is bigger than I think it's given credit for. And look, I was fortunate in the sense of when they went in, they told me that it was a ticking time bomb, that had already started being necrotic. So it was breaking down. And had I left it would have resulted in cancer spreading because it was already turning. So he was like, I don't even know how you are like you are, but we would have been having a very different conversation in a few months' time. So I was super grateful because I had also had the pre-cancer cells a number of years earlier. So I was like, oh, I'm all good. Got them, they're gone. Like I said, this was all layering and layering and layering. So the next 12 months were horrible. The darkest days I've ever lived in my life because I was trying to navigate knowing it was very final. We tried to defrost those eggs I'd frozen years ago. They all died in defrosting. Obviously now I was unable to carry anyway. We explored some other options. It just wasn't for us, but it was just all very final. And I thought I had dealt with a lot of it already prior because, I was very aware, but it became really obvious that this is how our life is. And I've lost my career, which was my baby. Who am I? So that's where the deepest work started to really be done. And I think that's what's led me to want and advocate for who I work with today, because I understand when you love what you do, but certain things happen and transpire out of your control, you start to see the missing pieces of the puzzle that have always been missing, but you've been able to run, hide, and avoid. And when you can't do that anymore, it's a really challenging time. It's really scary. And I think for some people that can be in divorce. They have the business, they have the marriage, they have the kids or whatever. Their partner leaves them, and that's the piece that is now missing for them. It's not always necessarily health, but it's those really big foundational impacts on you that rock you and make you start to question why you are like you are. And I guess now we live in this hustle culture of it's around us everywhere. It really grinds my gears because I won't lie, I am left with a lot of permanent things that I have to manage every single day. So don't ever judge a book by its cover. People go, oh, but you look so well and healthy and like you've got this dream life. Yeah, but I have to check in with those, the VPV every single day to make sure I'm meeting them because my room for error is so small. That window of tolerance is so small that I can't risk falling outside of it because to lose more would be really detrimental.
Yeah, oh my God. It's like looking into a mirror for me. I've literally had all of those conversations you just talked about. Yeah, and that was what led me to having my hysterectomy. I had like 3 booked and that I either like canceled at the last minute or I was like, I can't, like, I'll be fine. I'll change my lifestyle, try me in on a new medication, like all of the things. And it wasn't because I was afraid of the surgery. Like I couldn't care less. Like these organs don't work anyway. Like that wasn't my issue. It was purely for the fact that I didn't want to have downtime because, I'm single, I am my own financial everything, so it's quite a thing for me to go and then take 6 weeks off to recover from, this surgery. But basically my, because I have Crohn's disease as well, so the 3 of them, so my colorectal and then the 2 gynos that I had literally ambushed me in a conversation, and, like, I had an appointment. I thought it was just to check up, like, "How's everything going?" and, like, whatever, and they said exactly word for word, "It is going to be a very different conversation in a few months' time if you don't take this more seriously and have this done. Like, we're gonna be talking about, yeah, like, the precancerous cells and all of these things." And I was like, "Okay, all right." Fine, take them out. So, you know, it was wild because even the day before, I was at a racetrack the day before my surgery. I was like, "No, I'll fly out the last minute." Like, it was I wasn't, yeah, willing to. Anyway, it was the best thing I ever did in my whole life. Like I said, 7-week post-op, and I've not felt better ever. Well, I mean, I'm sure in my younger years I did, but I understand the sort of like the finality of having a conversation like that. And, you know, same deal. Like, I've frozen eggs. I went through that whole thing. That was one of the worst things I ever did. Like, I'm not sure what your experience was, but it was, yeah, right? Like, when I tell, like, batshit crazy comes to mind when I think about my mental state during those times. Did those hormones, like, affect you really badly as well?
Yeah, so I was about 25 when I did it. And so, yeah, single, on my own, sitting. I remember sitting in waiting rooms. I took my parents with me because I was so petrified. I was like, what am I doing? And no one was talking about it. Like, we're going back a number of years ago now. And so it wasn't common. It was also very expensive. So it cost me $24,000 and there was no rebates on it because back then it was seen different. Anyway, I remember sitting in the waiting room with my parents, surrounded by couples who were pregnant, thinking, am I lost? Like, how did I get here? But for whatever reason, and so also had an intervention from my specialist. He ambushed me because I kept putting off the test to check my egg level. And one day it was like the front receptionist, I forget her name. I think her name was Sharon. Well, I was there all the time that we became besties. It's like, Sharon's going to walk you downstairs and have the blood test because you've avoided this for over 18 months and enough's enough. We need to know the facts. And I was like, thank you. So anyway, but I was so unwell. I still remember oh gosh, I reacted so badly to the medication because my body was trying to sort of reject everything it was doing, but I didn't know the severity of why. So that was for the egg retrieval, but I actually did another cycle. So the beginning phase of an IVF cycle to see if they can thicken the lining. So it's sort of the same concept, but you've just got no eggs being produced. And by this point, I was with my husband. And I remember going to work at a VIP at a house at Watergoes to do a home visit. Now, I never did home visits back in the day, but I did this one because of who they were. And I was vomiting in the car on the way there. I was breaking out in full body sweats. It was the middle of summer. I had been laying on the floor of my house before I left because I was so unwell. So for anyone who I guess gets morning sickness throughout their pregnancy, that's what I would imagine it's like. But it was so consuming that I couldn't function. I don't know if that's your experience, but it was like my body was just repelling everything I was putting into it. And look, I was on it for 40 days. You're meant to build your lining to, I think it's 10. After 40 days, mine was still at 1.5.
Wow.
And so they were like, this is not working. We're going to can this. I'm like, please can this because I'm either going to lose my mind or, yeah, like I was so sick. And the fluid, I don't know about you, but the fluid was insane. The egg retrieval, I think I put on 8 kilos,
Mhm.
which is a lot. And I can't remember what it was for the other phase. But yeah, my body was it was so unhappy.
Yeah, it was like, I get asked about it a bit, you know, with women my age and, you know, going through, I guess, similar circumstances to me. I like, and I don't want to tell people what to do. Like, if children is on your bingo card, then you know what, I love that for you. It just, I don't think it was for me. Like, I wasn't like, you know, it's my destiny to be a mother. Like, it's just not it. I have like a billion godchildren, and I love them dearly, and I can squish them, and I can kiss them, and I can take them out, but I can give them back. And I was okay with that, but I think it was just everybody external to me being like, you know, they're having kids, and so like, when are you settling down? And like, when, so yeah, going through the IVF. So similar to you, right? I was sitting in that room, and this probably was about 10 years ago now. Yeah, I think maybe, yeah, it would have been about 10 years ago. And So I had my laptop with me and same, I was working away, so I was like doing this. I was like, yep, yep, yep. Like, cause I knew she was gonna be late. She was late, so I'm not gonna waste time there. And same deal, working away, yep. And then there's this couple pregnant, all surrounded, and I was like, I am stereotypical, like single working gal here. This is the worst thing ever. Okay, I hate this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I think I ended up with 7, and I have to pay for their renewal every year. Like every year it comes around and it's like $800, whatever it is. And it really, like, every time I'm like, "I just don't wanna pay this." Like, it really, because I think I was sort of pushed into that decision. I don't know that I would have necessarily, if I really dug deep, wanted to do that. Like, I mean, same deal, right? Now I can't carry a kid anyway, and I don't know that I would outsource that. And look, who I never say never, so I'm just going to, just in case, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was mentally, emotionally, physically, like, one of the worst
Yeah.
states I've been in ever. And I try not to say that to people who are going through, who ask me what it's like, because like I was to the point, like it got really dark. So I remember I don't remember where I was driving to. I just had to drive. I just had to get out. I was scream crying because I was so emotional, and I was like driving 110 kilometers on a highway. And like when thoughts started going through my head, like I could just like quickly like go into the barrack, and I was like, nah, this like I need. So I was like, nah, you can't. Like, so she's like, you only got 7. Do you want to go again? I was like, no, nope. 7 is fine. If I meant to, like I said, even
Same.
if you got 1,
Yeah.
like no chance, because I mean, and you think about what it actually does to our bodies. Like, obviously you had such severe reaction, but like even like quote unquote normal bodies, outside of endo and all the other crap, it just like you're pumping yourself full of all of these things. And to think of the women in that waiting room, and they still do it now because I still go see my gynecologist all the time. Well, not so much anymore, but did before. And there's these girls sitting there, and it's like, oh God, I just want to hug you. And
Mhm.
I am with you. I am here with you. Like, I understand, like, because you're either surrounded by, yeah, people who are preggers coming in with kids, sitting there, like, and it's such this contrast. And it's like, yeah, I think that, I don't know, we need like a gynecology for like IVF peaks that aren't, because if you're the person or the couple in the room desperately trying to have a kid, like it actually is unbelievably triggering to go and see people with a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's, anyway, completely.
No, no, I really love this. I think this is a really powerful conversation because I think it's those little things that people don't realize have profound impact, especially in those crucial moments. Right now, maybe you and I have done a lot of work and we're in a better space and place with ourselves, with what has transpired, the way life has taken its turns. But in those moments, it feels and lands differently. I remember going into the chemist and asking, I don't know what it was for, but when they ask, "Are you pregnant?" And I
Yeah,
just had to me, and I was just like, I just looked at her, and in my mind, I was screaming like, "Does it? I can't. Like, how can I? It's impossible." But it wasn't. It was because it was me still healing. It was me processing the change, and it's ironic what you said about children. I never had a burning desire either, but I also knew from a very young age that it was unlikely. So I think I had kind of come to terms with that on a maybe a subconscious level a really long, long time, a lot longer than most. So honestly, I feel always felt worse for my husband because,
yeah,
when we first met, I remember one of our first conversations was he was like, "Oh, I really want a family." And I remember telling him so early. And people ask me, "How early did you let him know that?" And I said, like, really early. I couldn't tell you, like, maybe a couple of weeks in because I knew that that was a value of his and a priority of his. And I remember when I, like, found out the nitty-gritties of all of this, I said to him, like, "If you want out, I totally respect this. I will never hold it against you, but I don't wanna stop you from something that I remember you saying was a priority in your life." And I think that was a really powerful conversation to have for myself, for him, but also as a couple. And I'll still never remember. It was so beautiful. And he was like, "I didn't marry you because you could carry my kids. I married you because I want to be with you. And we will just have the best life." And now we've got fur kids and we love them, and seeing him do that, like, I get that joy of seeing him interact with them. And I'm like, cool, it's just a different version. And that's amazing. We've made our own version. We have the best life. We're not missing out. People can say we're missing out, but you don't know what you don't know. And so we live our life to the fullest, but we're very present and conscientious about the choices about how that looks. So we make a lot more time to reconnect and prioritize our relationship because that's the level of value and boundaries and priority for us because that's what we have. And you know what? Great. Like, how lucky am I to have that in my life? And I now respect and nurture that to a higher level because that's the most important thing in my life. Not work
Yeah.
and my health, but that relationship because that's what I get to share my life with. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. It's just I literally I've had so many of these exact same conversations, and there was literally one point, so, like, same, like, I was always, like, the hyper independent one,
Yep.
and there was one time in my life where I yearned to have a child, and that was I was with my ex. He had 2 daughters, and so, basically, he separated with his ex at the time, and she was pregnant, they didn't know. So, like, bing, bang, boom, I've met this guy, and I'm falling this Portuguese man, stunning thing. I was like he was, like, 8 years younger than me. I was just like, "Oh, I have hit the jackpot." Anyway, come with a kid and then another one on the way. I was like, "Okay, great. What the hell do I do with this now?" So, I will never forget my first night having baby Soph. She was 10 weeks old, and I had never had a kid before. I was like, "What the shit do you even do with something? Like, what?" Like, anyway, so thankful for my mum because I was just like, "This is just wild." Like, I don't know. Anyway, so it was after him that I did the egg freezing, but basically, we 'cause that was how I even found out I had endo, to be perfectly honest, because like, I was like, "Yes, I'm the man of my dreams, and he's got kids, so I know he can have kids. I wanna have kids, like, this is the life that I want." And then, yeah, like, 4 years down the track and nothing. But it was wild to me that everybody around me seemed to be falling pregnant at the time, and it was just like, "Why not me? Like, why am I not?" Like, I've never yeah, exactly, right? Like, I've never wanted this so much in my life, like, and yeah, I'm obviously the universe absolutely had my back because if I was still tied to that man now with a kid, like, life would be very different for me.
Mm.
But yeah, I look back at those moments and I think like what I would have given to have a baby that it was just like a phase of like, and it truly was, it was a phase because the exact same thing as you. Like I could not love my pets anymore. Like when like my 15-year-old dog, when I had to put her down, like I didn't want to yeah, I didn't want to I didn't want to do anything. Like it was like my whole world had completely fallen apart. And, I recently lost my cat. He got hit by a car. I was in hospital recovering from this hysterectomy. And I was and I was like, you can't tell me that I don't have this level of love for things. And like, you don't know love till you have a child. My best friend, like, has my goddaughter, right? Like, there's no word of a lie. I would murder for that child. I would like, I feel this unbelievable bond with her. And like, even last weekend, because she's in Adelaide and I'm in the Gold Coast, we sat on FaceTime with each other for 2 hours because she was just playing Play-Doh, and it's just like that time, I'm always the one she runs to. It's always Nini, Nini, the whole thing, and everyone laughs at how I'm favorite. But the love that I get from her, and I'm like, you can't tell me just because I don't have a child that I don't know love because it's just not the case.
Think you just you make the life and you prioritize the things that you have around you because that's your capacity. That's
Yeah.
it's what you've got there. And there's so much science coming out on the relationship with animals and the grief of a loss of an animal. So we lost our 14-and-a-half-year-old dog a couple of years ago, and it was brutal as well. So I really feel for you. And it led me down to doing a lot of research. I guess that's how my brain works because I was really curious. Was this something that others experienced? Because no one was really talking about it. And there's this whole pile of research out there saying that to lose an animal is often a greater loss than a human because society doesn't allow you to mourn the same way. We don't have funerals for animals. We don't get socially, people don't drop meals around when you lose an animal, but they drop meals around and call you constantly when you lose a human loved one. So society don't allow that acceptance as much externally. And so you suffer in silence. But the love of an animal, think about it, an animal stays as dependent on you from day one to the end. Whereas a child grows up, and some might stay a bit more dependent, but generally they grow up and they can survive on their own. whereas an animal is completely dependent on you every single day. And an animal wants very little. They don't go, "Oh, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you." An animal is unconditional love, and all they ask for is to be loved, fed, and watered. That's it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
simple, and that's what makes it so profound because in life you don't experience too many unconditional love situations where there isn't a transfer of something else expected.
Yeah, and that's so true as well because, prior to she was 15, and so she was quite ill. Now, this thing was like a warrior. She literally had polyps in her bladder. This thing got attacked a bunch of times. Like, she was just like the toughest thing on this planet. And, she like they gave her 6 months, it was like 3 years later. And, so I just had it was like I had extra time that I was extra, extra grateful for because I knew, but she just never said, even though on like the day that we had to take her into the vet, she ate her breakfast. Like, there was like could be an apocalypse and this dog would eat her breakfast. And yeah, it was like, 'cause she was on a medication cycle and I used to like change my life in accordance with when I needed to give her her meds. And, I would leave clients and I would, change times and all of these things. And that was the biggest thing I noticed when I lost her was that I didn't have to, I was like, well, I don't have to go home now. Like, my cats don't give a shit when I come home. Like, okay, cool. Like, it was like this whole like lifestyle change of having to, like, I took this dog into Woolies every single day, and people like loved because she was like in a pram. That's like to the level because she loved her walk so much, and I didn't want her to miss out. So I got her a pram. Like, before it was a cool thing to do. This was a few years ago. I was like the crazy dog lady that was walking her dog in a pram like a weirdo. But I was like, my dog gets to experience the lake, and she gets to, walk around. And she literally would scratch when she wanted to get out. She'd walk around and then she'd scratch when she wanted to get back in. So it was like, yeah. So like the that I guess looking after her, and that's exactly right. And like my dad is like the way left wing of his opening line at my 21st was like, well, I never really wanted kids, right? So everyone was like, what the hell? But then by the end of it, right, everyone was in tears because like this big 6'6" tattooed man, bikie looking thing, and he's like, she's the best thing that, whatever. He said to me, he said, for somebody that is so driven and so all of these things, how are you going to feel when you've given up your body, your everything to bring something into the world that you're not 1,000% sure that you want? And then what's going to happen the first time that, the kid lies to you or the kid like does all the, and he said, I know what you're like. You're going to be like, I've done all of this and it's not the same love as you get from Prada, which is true because, pets give you the unconditional love. And he said it's not the same as having your godchildren and then, doting on you and giving back. Like, this thing is going to break your heart like you've done to me that many times. And how are you going to feel? You're going to feel, having to sacrifice. I know because I would have been high risk immediately because of my Crohn's disease as well. So it was like I look back on all those little conversations that led up to, I guess, well, I mean, I don't know about you. I had to get approval. I had to go and see a psychologist to go and get approval to have my hysterectomy. I don't know if yours was the same. What?
No, I didn't because there was no options, like,
Yeah.
it was health necessity that yeah, I didn't need any of that because that was the level
Yeah.
we were at, but,
Wow. Yeah.
I guess that it's interesting, isn't it? I think back now, I'm like, you know, that was how bad I probably was that I didn't really, they were like, "Oh, yeah, you'll just be in and out 6" they told me 6 weeks, but my surgery I don't know how long your surgery was, but my surgery went for nearly 6 hours because I had such excessive scar tissue. My bowel was adhered to my abdominal wall, and then it was attached to my bladder was attached to other parts. So, something like my bowel was sitting 5 centimeters higher than it should have because
Wow.
it got stuck and with scar tissue. So that was why I was getting a lot of other pain with other things. But they had to spend all this time doing all this really intricate type of surgery to remove all of this stuff, that it was so long. So I think 12 weeks for me was,
Yeah.
yeah, just because it was slow internally to heal from the extent that they had done. But yeah, I guess, everyone heals differently and there was probably other factors playing a role. But yeah, I think with the children thing, I love my friends with kids. I support anyone that's trying to juggle work, kids, and everything else. I realize there's so many different ways to do life. And, you only know what you know.
Mm.
I guess I have some people go, "Oh, I can't work with you because I've got kids and you don't." It's like, But this is the beauty of being trained in what I do and also being a human, completely detached from the world. But I think also, yeah, I might not have the human, but I do have the pet, and I do understand the responsibility and the sacrifice. Like, I won't travel for too long away from them and from my partner because I want to respect and nurture the things that are important. Plus, it keeps me grounded and it makes me happy. So I don't want to be
Mhm.
away. Like, my husband and I do travel overseas for longer periods, don't worry. But, it's something that we're really conscious of. It's like that's the commitment we've made. So we don't take it lightly. And it's also what brings us joy every single day.
Yeah, well, I feel you. I hate being away from my pets. I will FaceTime them. I just need to know that they're okay. Like, you know what? They absolutely love their life, and because I kind of base myself between Adelaide and the Gold Coast, and they have their Adelaide home with their Adelaide keeper that they boss around and they get all they need to, and then it is. I completely get it, but it's just like this. I miss them so much. Like my little squish their little faces and the whole thing. But so I get it. Yeah, I think my surgery was he said it was 4.5 hours and same deal. So everything was fused everywhere. I had adenomyosis as well. So all of the stuff. So I had my post up with him a couple of days ago, or no, a couple of weeks ago. And he said that 80% of his surgeries that he just kind of he gives not autopilot, but it's easy. It's like rip it in, rip it out, away we go. He said yours. He said I was exhausted by the end of it. He said, yeah, everything had adhered everywhere. He said, and because of my Crohn's disease and all the things, he said, we're we handled your bowel so much, so expect this after. And that's probably the worst part of all of it is that, it's been my intolerances have become a whole new level, which is actually probably a good thing because I really don't really appreciate I just don't treat my Crohn's that seriously, to be honest. So this is probably a blessing. But yeah, so it's wild. It's just, I had keyhole as well. So to really I'm so grateful in what they can do these days with, I've got a patchwork quilt on my stomach of scars and things, all of my surgeries. But my bikini modeling days are well and truly behind me, so I think I could live. But yeah, it's amazing. I have kept you so far beyond 15 minutes. I hope that's okay.
I loved it. Thank you so much. I hope I haven't occupied and hijacked too much of your time today, but
No, not at all. I'm so grateful. But I do I want you to tell people where they can find you and who you help, what you do, all of the things before we go, so that people can find you and
yeah.
continue this convo if they want.
No, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on here. And I think these types of conversations where they're just organically led and, they land with someone who needs to hear these things. And I think that's the power of conversation today that 10 years ago we didn't have. We weren't
True.
talking about these things. So thank you for holding this space and for creating this as well. And it's been amazing. So I work one-on-one in my elevation mentorship, which is a 3-month container where we do one-on-one sessions and WhatsApp support. And it's really encompassing. So we look at all areas of their life. So you can find that through my website at nikkiford.com.au. And then my Elevation Intensive is the program that I do. I go and speak in workplaces to help do live interactive in the moment coaching with people in the room, which is really cool. So that it's not just another slideshow, death by slides, as I call it. It's
Yep.
not that kind of thing where you walk away feeling a little bit inspired, but you've got some paper to implement things, which no one ever does. This is people relate the best when they hear an example, especially analogies, or hear someone else's experience. They naturally relate it to themselves. So they naturally connect with it on a deeper level. So we create real foundation of change in that space. It's insane the changes that can happen in a 60-minute session. So it's awesome. And I do that anywhere in Australia. And then the view from here can be found on any of the streaming platforms. And it's a podcast with real conversations, no script, no preset topics. We go in and we explore, I guess, all of the psychological components that make them who they are to create the success they've got, but get them out of the hardships that they've come from. And we realize that there's just not one way to do life, not one way to create success. And the people that I get to sit down with are insane. They're just so insightful, so raw. And I just love being able to change one person's life who gets to hear that conversation, maybe it gives them hope, maybe it gives them a tool that they can implement, and maybe it inspires them to create that change. So that's the way. And I do some public speaking now too, which is incredible. I'm loving it. So I've got some good things coming up in the near future. But yeah, all of it can be found on my website, and always open just to hold a conversation with someone and see how we can help. And if I can't help, I will find you someone that can. I think that's the best.
Yeah, amazing. No, thank you so much for your time this morning. Like I said, we've quadrupled but yeah, it has just felt like this conversation has happened. I looked at the time, I was like, shit. Do you know, I knew that this would like, because yeah, I had somebody else booked in and then it cancelled and I was like, oh, okay, like I'll see how long this goes. And then I've got some other stuff to go through. And then I was like, after 10 minutes, I was like, this is going to be the hour. I'm so here for this conversation right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I don't think talking is a problem for you. We
No,
could
I
probably
think we're
talk for
fine.
no, a whole nother day on these topics. There's so many things I want to ask you as well, but I'm not. I'm not trying to flip the coin on you. But yeah, look,
No,
thank
it's
you so
fine.
much, and it's just been such a pleasure. What a great way to start our Thursday morning. So thank you.
I know. No, thank you. Okay, well, that's the show, guys, today. So thank you again, Nikki. I'll put all of Nikki's links in all the show notes, all the things. You'll see her on socials. And I'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.